My name is Valerie. I'm 29 years old, and I never thought I would see my own blood splash across a wedding boutique floor. The diamond on my sister Amanda's engagement ring sliced my cheek open when she slapped me, silencing the entire shop. For 7 months, I had been nothing but an ATM for her $100,000 wedding. The $10,000 designer gown she had just chosen was charged to my platinum card. That slap was my awakening. Where are you watching from today? Hit subscribe if you've ever had to stand up to someone who was using you, because my breaking point was about to change everything. Growing up in suburban Boston, Amanda and I were inseparable, just 2 years apart. We built snow forts in winter that became our secret kingdoms. We defended each other fiercely from neighborhood bullies and shared clothes, secrets, and dreams. Our childhood photos show us with matching gap-toothed smiles, her arm always protectively around my shoulders. I looked up to her with the kind of pure admiration only a little sister can feel. Our family dynamic was pretty clear from early on. My father, a corporate lawyer, was rarely home, and when he was, he hid behind newspaper pages or locked office doors. My mother, obsessed with appearances and social climbing, clearly favored Amanda, while she criticized my academic achievements as showing off. She praised Amanda's social popularity as building important connections. Valerie is smart. She'd tell her friends within earshot. But Amanda has real star quality. It hurt. But I found solace in books and grades while Amanda thrived as the golden child. As we grew older, our paths diverged. I focused on academics, earning a scholarship to Northwestern University, where I studied finance. Amanda went to Boston College, focusing less on grades and more on cultivating her glittering social circle. While I was organizing study groups, she was planning parties for Boston's elite. After graduation, I secured a position as a financial analyst in Chicago, steady, predictable, quietly successful. Amanda, with her charisma and connections, landed a PR job for luxury brands. Her Instagram became a carefully curated stream of champagne glasses, designer clothes, and red carpet smiles. During one freezing Chicago December, I flew home for Christmas, dreading the usual subtle comparisons from our mother about my plain wardrobe, my single status, my boring job. But what I didn't expect was the elaborate dinner setup that night, complete with professional photography. "Why is there a photographer?" I whispered to my father, who looked uncomfortable in a new suit. "Your mother arranged it," he muttered. "Something special happening tonight." When Amanda arrived with Jackson, I immediately noticed how different she was. He was tall, handsome in a preppy way, and carried himself with the entitled confidence of someone born into wealth but pretending to be self-made. He worked in finance, too, though he spoke vaguely about what he actually did. "We met at the Children's Hospital Charity Gala," Amanda said, touching his arm possessively. He was the biggest donor of the evening. Dinner was a performance orchestrated by my mother, every topic carefully designed to showcase Jackson's family connections, vacation properties, and bright future. And as dessert was served, he suddenly dropped to one knee beside the table, producing a ring box. "Amanda Elizabeth, you have brought such joy into my life. Would you do me the honor of becoming my wife?" The diamond was enormous, catching light from every angle as Amanda gasped theatrically. The photographer captured every moment, including my forced smile. Later that night, she cornered me in our childhood bedroom. "Val, I need you to be my maid of honor," she said, eyes shining. "No one knows me like you do." Tears filled her eyes, reminding me of the sister I'd once known. I agreed without hesitation. 2 days later, we began planning. Amanda, our mother, and I sat around the dining room table surrounded by bridal magazines. I was thinking $30,000 should cover everything. I suggested after researching average wedding costs. That's plenty for a beautiful venue, food, and all the essentials. Amanda and our mother exchanged a look. "Darling, that might cover the flowers." My mother laughed. "This is going to be the social event of the season. Jackson and I are thinking more like 60,000 minimum." Amanda added casually. That's a lot of money, I said carefully. Will Jackson's parents be contributing? A flicker of something crossed her face before she recovered. Actually, Jackson's trust fund has some temporary restrictions. The money from his last investment is tied up for a few months. We'll figure it out, my mother said dismissively. That evening, Amanda came to my room, sitting on my bed like we used to during our late-night talks. Val, I know we haven't been close lately, she said softly. I really want this wedding to bring us back together, but I'm worried about the finances. Jackson's situation is only temporary, but we need deposits now. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I remembered all the times she'd stood up for me when we were younger, when she helped me get ready for my first date. When she held my hand at Grandma's funeral, despite everything. She was still my sister. I can help with some expenses, I offered, as long as you and Jackson pay me back when his funds free up. She hugged me tightly. You're the best sister anyone could ask for. The next day, I added her as an authorized user on my platinum card with a written agreement about repayment. I thought I was rebuilding our bond. I couldn't have known I was signing up for emotional and financial ruin. The wedding was 9 months away. Amanda made a detailed planning timeline, and I dutifully flew from Chicago to Boston every few weeks for key decisions. On my first trip, I brought a color-coded budget spreadsheet with maximums for each vendor. Amanda barely glanced at it. This is sweet, Val, but way too restrictive. My wedding needs room for inspiration. But we agreed on a budget, I reminded her. If we don't track costs, this could get out of hand. She patted my hand condescendingly. This is why you're good with money and I'm good with people. Trust me. The first warning came with the bridesmaid dresses. She'd picked $200 gowns originally, but at the fitting, she changed her mind, upgrading to $400 ones. I bit my tongue as her friends Catherine, Jasmine, Tiffany, and Stephanie whispered behind their champagne glasses. I hear financial analysis is very stable, Catherine said, smiling with polite disdain. Do you ever worry about eye strain from staring at spreadsheets all day? Jasmine added, feigning concern. Their words stung, but Amanda said nothing to defend me. 3 weeks later, she texted again. New dresses are $700 each. Order today. This pattern repeated endlessly. She'd agree to something, then upgrade to something double the price, leaving me to handle the payments. She was rude to vendors, and I'd apologize and tip extra to smooth things over, all charged to my card. The cake tasting was the final straw that month. She scheduled it for a Tuesday morning, knowing I had a crucial presentation for a promotion. You need to reschedule your work thing, she said over the phone. The baker only has this slot. Amanda, I can't. This presentation matters for my career. No. Valerie, you don't care about my wedding. I gave up so much for you when we were kids. You can't even do this one thing for me. The guilt worked. I missed part of the presentation, and my boss noticed. Everything okay? Valerie, you've seemed distracted lately. He was right, I was falling apart. Then came the biggest shock. Amanda switched the venue from a charming country club to an exclusive Cape Cod resort that cost 4 times more. The new minimum was $50,000 for food and drinks, and the guest list jumped from 150 to over 300. My anxiety grew daily as I watched my credit card balance climb. When I calculated everything, the total already exceeded $100,000. Jackson's funds should be released any day now, Amanda said every time I brought up repayment. But deep down, I knew something was wrong. And then, one evening in July, 3 months before the wedding, I discovered the truth. That July, I was in New York for a business conference. By coincidence. My company booked me at a hotel just a few blocks from where Jackson supposedly worked. It felt like fate. I decided to surprise them both with dinner. Maybe it would be the perfect opportunity to talk about the financial situation openly and set boundaries before things spiraled any further. After my final session, I walked toward Jackson's office, the humid summer air thick with city noise and the smell of roasted peanuts from street vendors. As I neared the building, I saw a familiar figure through the window of a sleek, upscale restaurant across the street. Amanda, laughing, her hand resting gently on Jackson's arm. At first, I smiled. Maybe they were celebrating something. But then, I caught a look on her face that made my stomach twist. It wasn't the stress of a woman burdened by wedding planning. It was pure, carefree joy. I moved closer, close enough to see their lips move through the glass, but not close enough to be noticed. I wasn't planning to spy, but what I overheard would change everything I thought I knew about my sister. The contractor says the Hamptons house will be ready right after the wedding, Jackson said, swirling his glass of red wine. Just in time for us to spend a weekend there before the Maldives honeymoon. Amanda's smile glowed with satisfaction. Perfect. I already have ideas for the guest rooms. Valerie will never be invited. Of course. Could you imagine her practical suggestions ruining my design vision? They laughed together. My heart dropped into my stomach. Speaking of your sister, Jackson continued, lowering his voice slightly. How much more do you think you can get her to cover? My parents are asking when we're going to stop charging things to her card. Amanda rolled her eyes. They worry too much. Valerie makes 6 figures and has no life. She might as well put that money to good use. Besides, she offered to help. She offered to help, not to pay for everything, Jackson replied, though he was grinning. But hey, I have to admit, upgrading to the seafood tower for the cocktail hour without spending our own money does feel pretty good. Their laughter cut through me like glass. I felt the world tilt. My hands went cold. I stepped back from the window, gasping, trying to steady myself. I'd been lied to, manipulated, used. The cash flow problems, the trust fund delays. All of it was a game. Curiosity and anger drove me to follow them at a distance when they left. They walked several blocks to a luxury apartment building with a uniformed doorman who greeted them by name. Not a temporary rental, a permanent home. The lies ran deeper than I had ever imagined. The next morning, I texted Amanda coffee before I fly back. Just the two of us. She agreed, probably thought I wanted to talk about floral arrangements. When she arrived at the cafe, I didn't waste time. I saw you and Jackson at dinner last night, I said evenly. I was in town for a conference. Thought I'd surprise you. Her face flickered a half-second of panic before she composed herself. Oh, you should have joined us. It was just a quick bite. I also overheard your conversation, I said quietly, about the Hamptons house, the Maldives honeymoon, and me. Her hand froze around her cup. Val, I can explain. Please do. Explain why you told me Jackson had financial problems when you're buying vacation homes. Explain why I'm paying for your wedding when you clearly have money. She faltered. That's not what you think. The Hamptons house, that's Jackson's parents' property. The honeymoon is their gift. When I didn't answer, she changed tactics, tears filling her eyes. Okay, maybe Jackson exaggerated his financial situation. He was embarrassed. His parents have expectations. You know, this wedding, it's stressful. I've mixed things up. I'm sorry. Val, can we start fresh? I promise I'll be transparent from now on. I wanted to believe her, because the alternative that my own sister was coldly exploiting me was too painful to face. From now on, we discuss every expense before it happens, I said firmly, and I need a repayment plan in writing. Of course, she said quickly. Jackson will handle it. You'll have it soon. I flew home cautiously optimistic that maybe, just maybe, she meant it. That optimism lasted 8 days. Then the charges started again. Premium flowers imported from Holland, $300 bottles of champagne, a celebrity DJ with a $5,000 deposit. Every time. The charge appeared before Amanda mentioned it. Every time. She had a new excuse. When I called to confront her, she'd rush off the phone. Can we talk later? I'm just walking into a meeting. Later never came. I eventually learned from a talkative florist that Amanda had told all vendors the same thing. Provide the best of everything. Don't bother me with prices. My sister Valerie is handling all the financials. She's so lucky to have such a generous sister, the florist added cheerfully. The words sliced deeper than any diamond ring ever could. By August, 1 month before the wedding, Came the final straw, Amanda's final dress fitting scheduled at an exclusive boutique in downtown Chicago. She'd insisted on buying her gown in my city so I could be part of it. I thought it was thoughtful. I was wrong. When I arrived, every single bridesmaid, and even our mother, was already there. Dressed in coordinated pastel pink dresses and matching heels. They were taking group photos for social media under a gold bride-to-be balloon arch. No one had told me about the dress code. Valerie. Finally, my mother said, air kissing me. Her eyes flicked over my outfit-tailored pants and a silk blouse. Couldn't you have dressed better for such a special occasion? This is going on Amanda's wedding Instagram. No one told me about outfits, I said softly. Amanda waved dismissively. I'm sure I mentioned it. You probably forgot. You've been so busy with work. The boutique owner, elegant and cold, offered champagne to everyone except me. The bridesmaids chattered about the wedding hashtag while I sat alone on a velvet sofa, feeling like a stranger in my own sister's story. Then Amanda emerged in her first gown, sleek satin, dramatic train, and everyone gasped. But Amanda frowned. It's not quite right, she said. I need something more statement-making. 4 gowns later, she was still unsatisfied. Finally, the boutique owner smiled. I've been saving something special, she said, bringing out a custom Vera Wang gown, breathtaking, shimmering like starlight. Amanda stepped into it, and for a brief moment, I forgot my anger. She looked radiant. But when the owner said, "It's $10,000, with alterations included," reality snapped back. 10,000, I said. Amanda, that's twice what we agreed on. The room went silent. Amanda's face hardened in the mirror. Budget, she hissed. Are you seriously bringing up a budget during this moment? I'm just saying we agreed on a limit, I said, voice shaking. We've already gone over budget everywhere else. She spun to face me, the dress swirling around her like a storm. Are you trying to ruin my special day? Because that's what it feels like. Of course not, I said. You just what? Can't stand that. I'm finally the center of attention. You'll probably never get married yourself, so stop trying to ruin this for me because you're jealous. The air froze. Every pair of eyes turned to me. Even the shop staff stopped moving. I'm not jealous, I whispered. I'm concerned about the cost. You and Jackson promised to repay me, but her face twisted. You've always been like this, always keeping score, always so obsessed with money. You've never supported me, not really. That's not true, I said quietly. I've supported you in everything, including this wedding I'm paying for. Because you have nothing better to spend your money on, she screamed. Your boring life, your empty apartment. You should be thanking me for giving you a chance to be part of something beautiful. Her words struck like knives, every insecurity exposed. Before I could respond, she stepped forward and slapped me across the face. The diamond on her engagement ring cut deep into my cheek. Gasps filled the room. I staggered back, blood beginning to drip down my face onto the boutique's white carpet. Amanda froze, not in guilt, but in horror at the scene. My mother rushed to her side. Not mine, Amanda. Darling, calm down. Think of your blood pressure, she soothed. Not one person asked if I was okay. Amanda's voice was icy. Get out of my fitting. Get out of my wedding. You're still paying for it. But I don't want to see your face again. I walked out trembling, pressing a towel to my bleeding cheek. In the car, my phone buzzed a text from Amanda. Don't forget to pay the balance for the dress tomorrow, and you're still responsible for the rehearsal dinner. No apology, no concern, just a reminder to pay. Something inside me broke that night, something that could never be repaired. That night, I sat alone in my apartment, my so-called sanctuary, staring out at the glittering Chicago skyline through my floor-to-ceiling windows. I had always loved this view. It made me feel grounded, accomplished, independent. But now, all I saw was reflection mine, faint and ghostly, with a fresh cut across my cheek and eyes swollen from tears. I went to the bathroom and peeled back the towel I had pressed to my face. The blood had dried, leaving a dark red crust that traced the line of Amanda's diamond. The urgent care doctor had stitched it cleanly, assuring me it would heal with minimal scarring. But looking at my reflection, I knew the wound ran deeper than skin. That cut was the physical mark of every humiliation, every manipulation, every moment I'd let her use me. I went to my desk, opened my laptop, and began pulling up every single credit card statement from the past 7 months. I built a spreadsheet, line by line, charge by charge, flowers, venue, catering, dress fittings, spa packages, rehearsal dinners, imported wine, photography deposits, bridesmaid gifts. When I reached the total, my breath caught $78, $945.32. And that didn't even include the final balances due to vendors. Once everything was paid, it would cross $120,000 for a wedding I was no longer invited to. My emergency fund was almost gone. I'd been dipping into it to make the monthly payments. My investment accounts were untouched, but withdrawing from them would mean penalties and taxes. I was a financial analyst, someone who prided herself on fiscal responsibility, and yet my sister had nearly bankrupted me. As I sat staring at the numbers, my phone buzzed with a notification, a group text. I didn't recognize the name at first, but when I opened it, my stomach turned cold. It was a group chat between Amanda and her bridesmaids, and I had been accidentally included. Amanda: can you believe Val tried to limit my dress budget, Catherine? Have you seen how she dresses? She probably thinks weddings should be held in libraries, Tiffany. Or that the centerpieces should be spreadsheets, Jasmine. Remember when she suggested potted plants instead of flower arrangements? I nearly died. They sent screenshots of my messages and laughed about them. Months of mockery, all behind my back. But what shattered me completely were the Instagram posts. Post after post. Amanda bragging about her self-funded dream wedding, about hard work paying off, about building the life you deserve. Every caption was a lie. Every image a performance funded by me. When you work hard enough, you can give yourself the wedding of your dreams. Some people call it extravagant. I call it investing in memories. I stared at those words for a long time, my chest tightening with rage and disbelief. I wasn't just being used, I was being erased. She wasn't just spending my money, she was rewriting the story to make it seem like I'd never existed in it at all. That was the moment I called Diana, a college friend who had gone on to become a corporate attorney. I explained everything: the card, the agreement, the assault, the emotional manipulation. Do you have anything in writing? She asked calmly. Yes, I said, voice shaking. We signed an agreement when I added her to my card, and I have texts confirming she'd repay me once Jackson's funds cleared. That's good, Diana said. Verbal agreements can be shaky, but written proof plus deceptive behavior. You might have a case for fraud if they deliberately lied about their financial situation to make you pay for things. That's serious. What should I do? I can draft a formal demand letter, repayment plus damages. It'll scare them, trust me. I thanked her, but something inside me hesitated. Yes, the money mattered, but what Amanda took from me went far deeper than dollars. She had stripped away my trust, my dignity, my sense of family. A legal letter couldn't fix that. After hanging up, I sat in silence, scrolling through my card management app. I could cancel Amanda's card, report it compromised, stop all payments to vendors. In one click, I could undo everything. But could I live with it? Would I become as cruel as she was? I scheduled an emergency phone session with my therapist, explaining everything: the assault, the debt, the guilt. Valerie, she said softly but firmly, what happened at that boutique was abuse, both physical and emotional. You've been gaslighted and exploited for months. You have the right to protect yourself. She's still my sister, I whispered. Family doesn't mean you have to accept harm, she said. Ask yourself, if a friend told you this story, what would you tell her to do? The answer came instantly. I'd tell her to walk away. Before you do anything, my therapist added, document everything, every message, every receipt, every post. Create a record. Protect yourself. For the next 2 hours, I did exactly that. I downloaded months of bank statements, vendor receipts, and screenshots of every cruel message. I saved everything to a secure folder. Then I drafted an email to my parents, explaining what had happened: the slap, the stitches, the financial abuse, attaching photos, screenshots, and the spreadsheet. I didn't send it, not yet, but knowing it existed gave me strength. By midnight, I sat at my desk, staring at my banking app. My finger hovered over the cancel card button. All it would take was one press, one single click to end 7 months of financial bleeding. I thought of Amanda's laughter through that restaurant window, the slap, the mocking texts, the sight of my blood on white carpet while everyone comforted her instead of me. The weight on my chest lifted, replaced by something sharp and clear. This wasn't revenge, this was survival. I took a deep breath and clicked. The app asked, "Are you sure you want to cancel this card?" "Yes," I whispered. Then I went a step further. I reported the card as compromised, ensuring that all pending or future payments would be automatically declined. I logged into my bill pay system and canceled every scheduled vendor payment. It was done. 1:03 a.m., 6 weeks before the wedding that was supposed to be the social event of the season. I had just pulled the financial rug out from under it. I expected to feel guilt. Instead, I felt something like peace, a calm I hadn't known in months. I slept deeply for the first time since this nightmare began. The next morning, my phone exploded, missed calls, texts, emails, dozens of notifications stacking faster than I could read them. "Amanda, the florist says your card was declined. Fix this." Amanda. "What the hell? Valerie. Call me right now." Amanda. "If you don't fix this, I'll sue you. You owe me." Each message grew angrier, more desperate. There was even a voice note, Amanda screaming, her words tangled with rage and hysteria. Then my mother called. "Valerie Grace," she began, voice tight with restrained fury. "I don't know what kind of game you're playing, but you will call your sister right now and fix this. You're humiliating the family. I raised you better than this jealous behavior." Then came my father's email, just one line. "Family supports family, period." I read it once, then deleted it. I didn't respond to any of them. I made my coffee, got dressed, and went to work as if it were any other morning. My colleagues noticed the stitches. "Oh no. Are you okay?" someone asked. "Just an accident," I said lightly, and no one questioned further. That evening, as I was chopping vegetables for dinner, there was a sudden, violent knock at my door. Not the polite kind, the kind that rattles the frame. I looked through the peephole. Amanda, Jackson, and both my parents. Amanda's face was blotchy, her eyes red and swollen. My mother looked like she'd been holding in a scream for hours. My father stood stiffly behind them, jaw clenched. I thought about pretending I wasn't home, but no, it was time. I opened the door. They pushed past me without asking, storming into my living room as though it still belonged to them. Jackson crossed his arms by the door, blocking it like a guard. Amanda stood in the center of the room, trembling not with sorrow, but fury. "Fix this," she said flatly. "Call the bank, reactivate the card, and apologize to the vendors for your mistake." "It wasn't a mistake," I said calmly. "I canceled it on purpose." "You," what, she gasped. "I'm done being used." "Used," my mother snapped. "Your sister honored you by asking you to be part of her day. And this is how you repay her." "She didn't ask me to be part of it." I said, "She asked me to pay for it. She didn't ask me to be part of it." I repeated, my voice low but steady. "She asked me to pay for it." Amanda's lips curled into a bitter smile. "You offered to help, Valerie. You said you wanted to make my day special." "I offered to help," I said, "not to fund your fantasy wedding while you and Jackson buy beach houses and hide it from me." Her eyes widened. "How do you—" "I saw you. I cut in New York, at that restaurant. I heard everything." Amanda's face drained of color. Jackson straightened, his arms falling to his sides. "You followed us," she hissed. "God, Valerie, do you have any idea how crazy that sounds?" "Not as crazy as spending $120,000 of my money on a wedding I'm banned from." Our mother's voice sliced through the room like a whip. Enough. This hysteria is beneath you both. Valerie, you're overreacting. Amanda may have made mistakes, but you don't punish family by destroying their wedding. I turned to her slowly. She slapped me so hard she drew blood. And you didn't even ask if I was okay. You comforted her. It was a tap, my mother snapped. Don't be so dramatic. I reached up, touching the stitches on my cheek. A tap doesn't require medical attention. Amanda's voice trembled, but not from remorse. I said I was sorry. Actually, I said quietly, you never did. Jackson stepped forward, trying to sound reasonable. Valerie, whatever issues you have with your sister, we had a verbal agreement. My father's lawyer says we could sue for breach of contract if you don't honor it. Something in me hardened. His smug, polished tone, so sure I would cower, was the final spark that lit the fuse. I walked to my desk, opened my laptop, and turned the screen toward them. You might want to see this. I played the recording I had saved Amanda's voice from the restaurant, clear and unfiltered. Valerie makes 6 figures and has no life. She might as well put that money to good use. Amanda froze. Jackson's jaw fell open. My mother looked horrified. My father just stood there in stunned silence. I have every receipt. I continued. My tone even. Every statement. Every text message where you promised repayment. Every Instagram post where you claimed you were paying for everything yourself. And video footage from the boutique security cameras that captured your tap. I turned back to Amanda. Would you like to see the part where you hit me? Valerie, my father began cautiously. Maybe this isn't the way. I didn't let him finish. You said family supports family, but I've been the only one doing the supporting. Emotionally, financially. You've all stood by while I was humiliated and used. Amanda's composure cracked. So what, she shouted suddenly, tears spilling down her face. So what if we could afford more than we said? You have no husband, no kids, no one to spend your money on. What else were you saving for? You'll die alone, surrounded by spreadsheets. For a heartbeat. The room was completely silent. Enough, my father said quietly, his voice strained. Amanda, that's... But Amanda wasn't done. You've always been jealous of me, she snarled. You always wanted to be me. Admit it. You'll never have what I have, the beauty, the attention, the life. I stared at her, my beautiful, poisonous sister, and realized something I should have understood years ago. It wasn't that she hated me. It was that she needed me to feel small so she could feel large. I don't want your life, I said softly. I want peace. I want honesty. Things you clearly can't afford. My mother stepped forward. Valerie, please. This is your sister's wedding. Can't you just... No, I interrupted. Not anymore. What do you want? Then she demanded. An apology. Fine. Amanda, apologize. Amanda crossed her arms. I'm not apologizing. She's the one who ruined my wedding. I exhaled slowly. I'm not asking for an apology. I'm setting a boundary, something I should have done years ago. Either acknowledge what you've done and the harm you've caused, or accept that we're done. Amanda's voice rose into a shriek. You're giving me an ultimatum. No, I said calmly. I'm giving myself freedom. And that's when she lost control. She started attacking everything she could think of: my appearance, my job, my apartment, my friends. You think anyone would want to marry you, she spat. You're plain, boring, invisible. I let her talk. Every word she screamed peeled away the illusion that she was still my sister. Jackson shifted uncomfortably beside her. My father looked down at his shoes. My mother just kept wringing her hands, torn between denial and fury. Finally, Amanda's voice cracked. You'll regret this. You'll regret destroying my life. I looked her straight in the eyes. I didn't destroy your life. Amanda, I just stopped paying for it. Silence fell like thunder. Then I walked to the front door and opened it wide. Please leave, I said. My tone quiet but final. All of you. No one moved for a few seconds. Then, slowly, my father placed a hand on my mother's arm. Let's go, he murmured. Something in his eyes, was it guilt or understanding? I couldn't tell. Amanda stormed out first. muttering threats about lawsuits and social ruin. My mother followed, her heels clicking angrily against the floor. Jackson trailed behind, his confidence deflated. My father was the last to leave. For just a moment. He paused at the door. "I didn't know it had gone this far," he said softly. "I'm sorry." Then he was gone. When the door closed, I sank to the floor, trembling. The apartment was silent except for the sound of my own heartbeat. I should have felt victorious. Instead, I felt hollow, emptied out. That night, I sat by the window, watching the city lights flicker like distant stars. I thought of our childhood, the snow forts, the laughter, the promises that sisters make when they're too young to know how easily love can twist into obligation. I cried until my body ached, but beneath the pain, there was something else too, something cleaner, sharper, freedom. 6 weeks later, on what should have been Amanda's wedding day, I woke up early. The sky outside was pale gold, somewhere in Boston. There would be chaos, vendors unpaid, guests confused, a bride without a ceremony, and for once, I felt no guilt. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and canceled my out-of-office message. I didn't need time off to recover from someone else's storm. Instead, I opened a travel website. I'd always wanted to see Bali, the beaches, the temples, the peace of somewhere far away. Without hesitation, I booked a ticket for that afternoon. The flight was long and quiet, and when I stepped into the warm, fragrant air of Ubud, I felt something shift. For the first time in years, I wasn't anyone's provider. I wasn't Amanda's sister, my mother's scapegoat, or my father's afterthought. I was just me. The first few days were hard. Guilt still clung to me like humidity. I found myself checking my phone, expecting more messages, more demands, but there was nothing. One morning, I sat at the edge of a rice terrace, watching the sunrise spill over the hills. The world was impossibly green and alive, and I realized I hadn't destroyed anything. I had simply stopped feeding a monster. A few days later, I met a group of travelers, people who, like me, were learning how to start over. At dinner one night, I told them everything: the wedding, the betrayal, the slap, the click. A woman named Margot, from Australia, stared at me, horrified. "Your sister assaulted you, took your money, and mocked you behind your back, and you feel guilty about cutting her off." Her words broke something open inside me. The laughter around the table was kind, healing, for the first time. I wasn't the quiet one in the corner holding everyone else together. I was allowed to simply exist. When I returned home from Bali 2 weeks later, something inside me had changed. I no longer felt small when I thought of my family. The shame, the guilt, the endless need to prove myself, they were gone. I started seeing a new therapist, Dr. Levine, who specialized in family trauma and narcissistic recovery. In our first session, she said something that stayed with me. "Children raised in families like yours often become caretakers. You were taught that love must be earned through sacrifice. But love that demands your pain isn't love, it's control." Her words hit like sunlight through fog. I realized I had spent years believing that being the good daughter meant rescuing everyone else, and in doing so, I had abandoned myself. The work was hard. I learned to set boundaries, to recognize manipulation, to say no without guilt. I began to understand that family didn't have to mean obligation. It could mean safety, mutual respect, peace. 6 months after the canceled wedding, I reestablished limited contact with my parents on my terms. We spoke occasionally, about neutral topics. My mother still struggled with boundaries, but my father seemed quieter, gentler. Once, during a call, he said, "I should have protected you better." It was the closest thing to an apology I had ever received. And then, one evening, the call I had been half expecting came. It was Amanda. "Valerie," she said softly, her voice fragile. "Hi. I know it's been a while. I've been thinking about everything that happened, and I owe you an apology." For a moment, I couldn't speak. Part of me wanted to hang up, Part of me still hoped she'd changed. I was selfish. She continued, I took advantage of you. I'm not proud of who I became. There was a pause. Then came the real reason for the call. I'm trying to get back on my feet financially. I was hoping you might help me just a small loan, until I find a new job. I closed my eyes, once upon a time. I would have said yes in an instant, but that version of me no longer existed. No, I said quietly, I can't do that. She inhaled sharply, but we're sisters. Yes, I replied, and that's why I'm saying no, because giving you money has never been healthy for either of us. There was silence, then a click. She hung up. We haven't spoken since. According to my father, Amanda's marriage fell apart not long after the canceled wedding. Jackson had hidden gambling debts, and she'd been secretly running up credit cards. Their perfect facade had cracked under the same weight of deception she had once used against me. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I felt nothing, just quiet. Months later, my mother called, her tone strangely subdued. Amanda's having a hard time. She asked how you found the strength to walk away. It wasn't strength, I told her softly, it was self-respect. Now, my life is peaceful, my career has flourished, I got that long-delayed promotion, and I renovated my apartment not to impress anyone, but to create a space that truly felt like mine. I started hosting small dinners for friends, people who feel like family in the truest sense of the word, not bound by blood, but by kindness. Last Thanksgiving, I looked around my table at the laughter, the warmth, the ease, and realized I no longer missed the people who couldn't love me without conditions. Sometimes I still touch the faint scar on my cheek. It's barely visible now, a thin silver line that catches the light when I smile. It used to remind me of betrayal. Now, it reminds me of the moment I finally chose myself. Canceling that credit card wasn't just a financial decision. It was the day I canceled my role in a family script that had been written long before I was born. For years, I thought love meant giving until there was nothing left of me. But real love, the kind I'm learning to build now, doesn't ask you to bleed to prove it's real. Sometimes, walking away isn't selfish, it's sacred. Have you ever had to make the painful choice to walk away from someone you loved to protect your peace, your heart, your dignity if you have? I want you to know you're not alone. Because healing doesn't always come wrapped in forgiveness or reunion. Sometimes, it comes quietly in the calm after the storm, in the space where chaos used to live. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories about strength, healing, and finding the courage to choose yourself. And in the comments, tell me, what was the moment you decided to stop apologizing for protecting your peace? End.